We often talk a lot about how to make money, how to accumulate wealth, how to invest wisely. But have you ever paused to ask, possession, does it really make us happier, or does it bind us even more? Welcome to the Inner World Podcast, where I, Liam Johnson, join you in exploring the depths of the inner life, where you're not just developing yourself, but truly transforming your being, living mindfully amid the many choices of modern life. Today's topic is part of a 21-episode series called Elevating Inner Awareness, where each session is a deeper step into freedom, serenity, and vibrant inner wisdom. And if you've been with me through the previous episode, where we explored why joy is an inner state, not just surface-level relaxation, then today we'll dive deeper into the application of joy, in communication, and in possession of asset. Why is this important? Because you could learn every business skill, even hold massive wealth in your hands, but if your heart is still entangled in attachment, you'll still feel lacking, afraid, and insecure. You might be in a relationship with a spouse, a friend, a coworker, but if you still see them as yours, you won't truly be able to connect with them. So how do we live as if we have nothing, hold without clinging, love without possessing? That's what I'll unlock with you in today's video. Together we'll peel back each layer of awareness. What is zero mindset? And why is it the key to freeing both your mind and your wealth? How can you own assets without being owned by them? Why do knowledge and love, when clung to, become depleted, but when gently released, grow without limit? And most importantly, the final part of this video will share a hidden corner of transformation, where you'll realize joy doesn't come from what you have, but from how you release what binds you. So stay until the very last minute, because I believe even a single sentence in the final part could change how you see wealth, love, and even yourself. Shall we begin? You work, you strive, you push forward, but there always seems to be an empty space inside that's never fully filled. You might own many things, a stable job, a complete family, the car you've always wanted. Yet amid all that, perhaps you've whispered a deeply honest question. How can I truly be at peace? Inner peace is not something you find when everything is calm. It is what you are able to hold on to even when everything around you is moving. Peace is not idleness, but a deliberate inner state. Listen carefully. Peace is not relaxation. It's not doing nothing. It's doing it without being swept away. This is something we all know, or at least think we do. We know peace is a good thing. We've had those peaceful moments, watching your child play with joy, or taking in the soft glow of sunset on a familiar road. But then we forget. That state isn't about the situation. It's something within. Do you remember the last time you felt truly peaceful? Not because of a vacation, not because work was smooth, not because your bank account was full, just because you were clearly seeing everything without judging any of it. In that moment, you were tapping into a very special capacity, one I call the capacity to hear and the capacity to see. The capacity to hear and see is the boat that carries you home to peace. The capacity to hear is not your physical ear. The capacity to see is not your biological eye. It is the ability to know you are hearing and know you are seeing without interference from thoughts, judgments, or emotions. When a sound arises, you hear it. But if immediately you think, "What's that noise? That's annoying. Why is it so loud?" then you've already lost the capacity to hear. You're no longer listening, you're reacting. You're no longer seeing, you're interpreting. The capacity to hear helps you recognize the emptiness of sound, while the capacity to see helps you realize the emptiness of the image you're seeing. Whoever maintains this capacity maintains their peace. There's an ancient saying from the sages, "The capacity to hear and see is the boat that carries the tranquil one back to the old village." Because when you don't interfere, you experience life as it is, unwarped, undistorted. And in that very moment you are no one, so you can be everything. You're not boxed in by names, roles, or expectations. You are simply present, and that is more complete than any achievement. There is an invisible yet powerful law. Wherever there is no interference, there is opening. Wherever there is no clinging, there is flow. Look at the plants and grass. They don't strive to do anything, yet they still grow, still shine, because they have no ego, no self interfering with the guidance of nature. But when someone gives you feedback, you react immediately. When you see something unpleasant, you label it as bad, wrong, terrible. That act of interference, that is the human nature, and it is precisely what pulls you away from peace, even if you live in a quiet home or a tranquil space. You don't need to stop everything to be at peace. You only need to learn how to live in the flow of life while holding on to a core of inner calm. True peace is not isolation or avoidance. It is not carefree leisure. It is a deliberate state of stillness in the inner self, no matter how the outside world moves. And that is why I invite you to continue this journey with me, a journey of rediscovering a profound, simple, yet extraordinary inner strength. Because once you grasp this, you won't need to change your life. You'll only need to change how you live within it. I won't tell you what to do. I'll only open a path that begins with relearning how to hear, how to see, how to be present. And then, step by step, you will realize peace is not far away. It has always been here. It's just that you've interfered with it too much. Today, you can begin again right from this moment. There's no need to wait until everything is calm. Because, as I've said, peace doesn't come from what you hold on to, but from what you know how to release at the right time. Do you remember what I said in the previous part? That peace is not relaxation, not escapism, but a state of inner stillness right in the midst of life in motion. That was the first step, recognizing the capacity to hear and the capacity to see as a boat carrying you from the restless shore to the serene one. But today, I want you to go one step further. Have you ever experienced a moment when you weren't judging, not comparing, not resisting, just simply present? At that moment, you stopped whispering in your head. You weren't labeling anything as good or bad. You just knew that you were alive. That moment might have come as you watched your child sleep, or while soaking in the golden afternoon light, or in the stillness of an early morning before anyone else had awakened. That moment is exactly when emptiness is activated. Emptiness is not a void, but a stillness where life can be felt. Emptiness is not nothingness. It is the absence of interference. No intrusion of thoughts, no layer of I think, I want, I fear, I need to control. Because there's nothing in the way, the most real things can go straight in. You don't need to explain because you are experiencing. You don't need to understand because you are present. We don't live with the present. We live with our reaction to the present. Look around you. People don't listen to understand. They listen to reply. They don't see to feel. They see to judge. They don't live to live. They live to control, to possess, to fear. You don't really listen to anyone. You listen to figure out what to say next. You don't truly look. You look to find what's right, what's wrong, what benefits or harms you. And you call that living. The problem with society today is an excess of action and a shortage of slowing down, of still spaces to feel life. You turn on your phone, 12 notifications. Turn on the TV, 20 news headlines. Step outside, 1,000 glances. Life is like a song that keeps speeding up. And the issue is not the sounds, it's the lack of space between the notes. And as you already know, a beautiful song doesn't come from non-stop notes. It comes from the pauses. That is what emptiness brings, a pause to feel rather than react. Do you know why the more people worry, the less peace they feel? Because they won't stop and listen to what's happening within. They interrupt every situation, insert thoughts into every moment, insert the self into every conversation. But if you train the habit of pausing, not interfering, you will activate a quiet space within. And in that space, wisdom doesn't arise from studying, but from knowing. Peace doesn't come from possession, but from release. I invite you to observe. In everything you do, are you truly present, or just reacting from old programming? Each day, if you take just a few minutes to not interfere, to simply be still and observe, then you are going far on the path of returning to yourself. At Inner World Podcast, I don't talk about things you've never heard. I simply help you remember what you already know, but have forgotten in the rush of life, because emptiness is always present. But you haven't felt it, simply because you haven't allowed it space to show up. You can begin today. You don't need to meditate for hours. Just when someone speaks, don't interrupt. When something happens, don't judge right away. When a thought arises, don't rush to follow it. Just like that. You create a space, and in that space, peace enters. Let me repeat today's most vital point. To live deeply, we must train the habit of not interrupting, allowing things to pass directly into the capacity to see and hear. You can try this right after you finish this podcast, and you'll realize you don't need to go far to find yourself again. Have you ever noticed this? There are people who wear no makeup, no expensive clothes, yet every time they appear, you feel something deeply pleasant. A quiet beauty, a glow that doesn't come from the skin, but from somewhere deeper. And then there are others who take great care of their appearance, smooth skin, shiny hair, yet their faces do not radiate a sense of vitality. Look closely, and you see traces of fatigue, eyes filled with worries, lips tightly pressed as if holding something inside. So, what creates true beauty? How can your cells rejuvenate if your inner self is at peace? It might sound miraculous, but this is no exaggeration. Cellular and energy science have shown every emotion you experience leaves a trace in your body. When you maintain a state of inner peace, your whole being breathes out a soothing frequency. Cells are no longer tensed by stress, but live in a refreshing environment. Your body begins to rejuvenate, your eyes brighten, your face softens, your movement becomes more graceful, because you are living in emptiness, not reacting, not disturbed. And that state nourishes every cell. I don't dismiss skincare, exercise, or proper nutrition. All of those matter. But there is something even more important, something you can't find on a product label. Your inner attitude toward life. You can wear all the facial masks you want, but if inside you're living in worry, comparison, anger, that energy will show on your face. You can jog every morning, but if you're running to escape sadness instead of facing it, that energy will still reflect in your gestures. So let me say this to you from the bottom of my heart. A radiant faith doesn't come from makeup, but from a radiant inner self. Your inner attitude shapes your experience, not your circumstances. Some people say, "I'll be happy when everything is stable." Then that person may never be happy. Because life never stops challenging us. Hardships are inevitable, but it is your reaction that creates suffering or peace. When your heart is at peace, you can be in the storm and still stand firm. When your heart is chaotic, you could be in paradise and still feel restless. That is why there is one principle you must engrave in your mind. Your attitude determines joy or suffering, not your circumstances. You can start practicing this today. Observe, receive, do not judge. When someone says something you disagree with, observe the reaction inside. When something unwanted happens, receive it without rushing to resist. When your mind starts spinning the story of why this is so bad, stop judging. Just by doing these 3 simple things consistently each day, you are training an inner strength as solid as a mountain. And the beauty of it is, you don't need to add anything, you only need to subtract what interferes. I'm not sharing this to give you more information, but to help you return. Return to your original inner self, where peace is your nature, not your condition. What attitude are you radiating right now? Are you pulling your life energy downward or lifting it up? Are you living in a defensive mode or in a flow of trust and openness? We cannot control every circumstance, but we can always choose the state of heart we bring into each day. And if you choose inner peace, not because life is easy, but because you've understood, not interfering is the fastest way to become empty, and emptiness is where all light begins. Live in that light, today, right now, and then you will be the light for others. The truth is, the tighter we hold on, the more we lose. The more gently we let go in the right way, the more value multiplies. When someone loves you without trying to control you, you feel at ease, willing to stay. But when love turns into possession, even through sweet words, you start to feel suffocated, wanting to pull away. This doesn't just apply to relationships. It applies to assets, to knowledge, even to your own identity. The zero mindset. Letting go is the most sustainable way to hold on. Imagine you have the number 1, then you add a few zeros, 10, 100, 100,000. The value multiplies dramatically. But if there's no one in front, 10 zeros are still nothing. The number 1 is your free inner being, and the zeros are what you own. You own a house, a piece of land, a body of knowledge, a relationship. But if you cling tightly to them, you are turning yourself into a lonely zero. Only when you release the attachment do the things you have begin to grow. Homes, land, assets. Own them to serve, not to cage yourself. Some people own 10 houses, yet live in constant worry, afraid of losing them, of damage, of careless tenants. They live in anxiety. Every night they sleep like wardens, imprisoned by their own property. In contrast, someone with just one home may turn it into a place of service, for rent, for sharing, open to the community. Their mindset is, I own it, but I don't own it. They collect rent, but treat it as a contribution. They feel free because in their mind, the house doesn't bind them, and the tenants, in return, take care of the house like it's their own. The value of the home rises, not only financially, but energetically. Think about what you know best, something that sets you apart. A rare piece of knowledge, a unique skill, a deep way of thinking. You keep it to yourself, thinking only those who deserve it will get it. But did you know, the moment you hold it back, you're making that knowledge smaller. Only when you share it, teach it, pass it on, does the knowledge truly grow, come alive, and spread. Even though I possess this knowledge, I treat it as if I don't, and that's what makes it 1,000 times more valuable. Not because you want fame from sharing, but because, in a state of inner peace, knowledge is no longer personal property. It becomes shared light. We grew up believing if you love someone, you have to hold them tight. But in truth, clinging only makes them want to run. True love is freedom within connection. You can live fully with someone without needing to label them mine. You can care without controlling. You can feel a bit jealous without letting jealousy destroy the relationship. When you love without possession, you become more compassionate, and that love becomes pure, gentle, and profound. Non-attachment, not possession, is what brings peace. Try observing. Anything you're attached to, assets, knowledge, relationships, carries with it fear. Fear of loss, fear of not being acknowledged, fear of betrayal. And when living in fear, you cannot be at peace. You control, you worry, you stay insecure. But when you let go, it doesn't mean losing. It means opening space for new energy to enter. At Inner World Podcast, we don't teach you how to develop yourself just to acquire more. We help you gradually release attachments to realize you already have enough, if you know how to own without possessing. You don't need anything more to be at peace. You just need less. Less attachment, less tension, less labeling. So today, where can you begin? Look at something you cherish deeply and ask yourself, if I lost this, would I still be me? Look at a relationship you're clinging to and ask, am I loving or am I possessing? Look at what you know and ask, can I share this, even if others don't fully understand its value? And finally, I just want to remind you, non-attachment is a form of wealth. A true freedom, a state of inner peace that needs no condition. And you can begin to step into that freedom by gently releasing what you're still holding on to inside. And if you're still listening at this point, then perhaps something deep inside you has already been touched. A gentle awakening. A quiet reminder that holding tight is not better than letting go softly. That control is not greater than trust. And that attachment, at times, is the very root of suffering. We're not sharing this just for you to think it's nice, but so you can truly live differently, to live with peace, depth, and freedom from within. Each time you share this, it's not just a send button, but a deliberate choice to spread light to someone who might need it more than you realize. So if you found anything helpful here, consider this. Click subscribe so you won't miss the next videos in this 21-part inner transformation journey. Hit like if this truly resonated with you. And only if you genuinely feel this should be shared, then share it. Not for me, but for someone out there who might be living with too many things labeled mine and has forgotten themselves. Thank you for walking this path with me. I'm Liam Johnson, and this is the Inner World Podcast. We'll meet again where your heart begins to be truly yourself.